All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lunch and Learn. This is a job seeker support group, and I'm Linda Brubaker. I'm a career coach, and I've been a career coach now for the last 7 years, with previous experience over 20 years worth as a recruiter, a headhunter, a hiring manager, and an HR business partner. So one of the things that I do, and I love doing this group, it's my opportunity to give back and help job seekers, because we all know that you really don't want to be here, but our goal is to give you the support and advice you need to help to move on. In my outside life, or my life outside of Lunch and Learn, as I mentioned, I'm that job search coach. And the work that I do in that coaching arena is what helps me to support Lunch and Learn and be able to provide it on a free basis. So for anybody who's interested, I will put in the chat the information about the kinds of work that I do with job seekers, everything from job search strategy to resume assistance, LinkedIn profiles and engagement, interview prep, a lot of interview prep. And then that's what supports this kind of work. So if you're interested in some of those pieces of advice to help you move forward in your job search, I would love to help you out. But as I mentioned, Lunch and Learn is free, and we're going to keep going. Okay, so that's who I am. What I'd like to do is start by reminding you all to put your information in the chat. And I want to share a couple of wins. Who's got a quick win? And I know Michelle does. Anybody want to share? Okay. TJ has his hand up first.
I just got an opportunity to interview on Friday for a position that locally that came out of the blue from a friend of mine from the college that I went to.
That's great. It's really important to be able to do that kind of networking with people that you went to school with. You never know where their opportunities are going to come from. Let us know how it happens, how it goes, TJ.
I will.
All right, thank you. Who's next? Let's see. I see. Sorry, I'm just trying to go across my screen because I can't remember who did it first. Hey, Chad.
Hey there. So tomorrow I have a fourth round interview with the company that I've been talking to. So we'll be meeting with a couple of additional people tomorrow. And then hopefully there'll be one more round after that too.
Isn't that amazing that you have to go 5 rounds? I've had some people go 8.
Yeah, I mean,
one had 12 opportunities to interview with the same company.
Well, that makes me feel a little bit better because I think technically there would be a 6th round, but I'm hoping that they can combine the 5th and 6th event on one day and not have to go back twice.
Yeah, it's getting to be a very long kind of drawn out process.
Yeah.
Okay. Congratulations. Let us know. Let us know how we can support you and help you. Catherine.
Yeah, hi there. Okay, I'm unmuted now.
Yes, you are.
All right, I have good news. I got a contract position.
That's great.
Yes, I've been unemployed for over a year now, and I was a teacher, so really bad time to change industries, as we have talked about here before. But I worked with, various supports, and then this spring I did some work with Linda on my resume and LinkedIn. And I also took a part-time job. It's a math tutoring job, but this franchise, it's Mathnasium, and the center director needed computer help, and I needed a Business World job title. So she hired me as assistant center director. And I don't know if that helped or not, but I had gotten feedback from one potential contract job that they were not considering anybody who was unemployed. So I thought I'd better get employed. And so after, a month and a half of having this part-time job, I got an offer for an interview. And it is very entry level. It's a perpetual contract job. There's not a path to hiring, but that means I can continue, job searching without any ethical concern.
Absolutely. Anytime you have a contract, by the way, always keep looking. Contracts, we know that jobs are all at will. We know that they can go away. There are no forever jobs anymore. But with a contract, there is an implication, an implied acceptance on the part of the company that you will continue to look. So
Yeah, and in
please,
fact, the
please,
hiring
please.
manager even said that they are used to people, taking permanent jobs. But I am absolutely thrilled to have a job, a full-time job for the first time in over a year. And I feel like it's a good start.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, Linda, for all of the advice you gave me. It obviously paid off.
I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you. I'm so glad I could help. Keep us posted. And, even on a contract job, or if you're working, if you can stop in a couple minutes on your lunch breaks just to say hi and check in, that's always a good thing.
All right, I'll give that a try.
Thank you. Okay. Trying to see who is next. I do apologize that I'm missing it. I'm going to let Michelle because she put something in the chat.
All right, let's see. Can you hear me? Because I was having some issues with this audio before.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Going back to where I was before, I haven't been working there since November, but actually it is a different area, but it's still within J&J. And I'll be going back as a consultant. It's a full-time, it's a possibility contract to hire. We said that last time, and then that didn't happen because there was a hiring freeze. So we'll see what happens this time around. I'm very excited about it.
Congratulations. So what are you going to be doing?
So I'll be doing very much the same as I did before. The title of the job is SAP Commerce Cloud BA. So it's BA work once again. And it's actually starting off with the same system that I started off last time. Last time it was the purpose of standing up Kenvue with their own e-commerce system. This time it'll be J&J who's jealous of what we did for Kenvue and starting off with the same system and making theirs better now. Yeah, it's kind of funny. By the way, there's another BA position open. And it's for somebody who has experience with GMP manufacturing processes.
Okay.
So that being a BA in that environment before.
So my suggestion, can you put that lead in the private group, Michelle?
Yeah, I put it in the chat, and I think you said you're copying the chat into the group.
Yeah, I
but
will.
I can also put it into the group. It's either way.
Yep.
All right.
We'll copy that.
Thank you so much for all your support and help. Thank you, and I really appreciate all of you guys.
We appreciate you too, and keep us posted.
Thank you. Of course.
Okay. I don't remember who was next, so I do apologize. I'm just going across my screen. Hi, Lori.
Oh, wait. Hi, everyone. So sorry, it's been one of those days. I have a interview at 2:30 Central Time this afternoon. And I do have to say that I'm starting to hear back from my connections. And one of them wants the CMO. He's in Australia. She's like, I want him to meet you. So I'm not never going away, to your point. And I've been doing a side gig, and I met someone through the side gig. I ended up meeting the regional manager of Kroger, vice president. He just happened to be there, and we exchanged numbers, and he's like, reach out to me. So you know what? You never know where you're going to meet someone. And I feel like the people you think are going to help you don't help you. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
And the people that you're like, really? Like this one I just got, she's like, oh yeah, the CEO was written a note by someone who worked with you at Kraft. So you know what? And it was years ago. So all I can say is I feel like it's opening up. I don't know if I'm ever going to have a full-time job again. And I'm not saying that negatively.
No.
What I mean is, you know what? If I keep doing gigs and freelance, fine. So be it. I get to dress like this, except I'm going to look nicer for my call this afternoon. Just so y'all know, I've been listening, but I haven't been participating. So I've been on board, but the times have been conflicting. So I apologize, but just keep at it, you guys, because I've been out there, and then my old company just laid off more people. So,
yeah.
S happens. That's all I have to say.
I agree. It is still a very fluid job market.
Mhm.
I'm starting to see more on both ends. I'm seeing jobs being pulled back. I'm seeing things slowing down, but I'm seeing some things happening. So it's hard
Well,
to
it
really.
seems like people, Linda, are reaching out again. Because for a while it went like silent. And I thought I was on the dark, what's it called? The dark web. Sorry, I'm not a techie.
Black
It's like,
hole.
oh, black. I'm like, is there like bad stuff about me on there? You know what I mean? I was like, oh my God. But seriously, I do think having a part-time gig, whatever you do, really helps you just mentally get in the game. Forget the money. I mean, that's nice, but it just kind of gets you out there again.
Mhm. I think so too.
So wish me luck this afternoon. We'll see. It's just the first one. And
That's
I don't
okay.
even remember. I don't remember applying. That's how long ago it was. So
That's the
we'll
other
see.
reason that, remember, we said you have to have a folder for every single job because
I
it
went
could be.
back.
Yep.
I went back and I looked at my folder for all of it. So we'll see how it goes, you know. But congrats to everyone else who's getting their consulting jobs. I think that's how I got into craft years ago.
Yeah.
So good luck. Okay,
Exactly.
bye.
Congratulations to you.
Well, nothing's, you know,
No,
I'm
I
just,
meant getting an interview is a good thing.
you know what? And getting conversations. I mean, the guy who's in Australia, I said, I wish I was there. And she's like, yeah, no kidding. Hopefully he'll come back. So that's the job I want, but I don't want to put it, I'm poo-poo,
We'll
you
keep our
know?
fingers crossed for you.
Okay,
Thank you. Good luck.
thanks.
Okay.
We good? Can you hear me
You
okay?
are. We can.
All right. All right. My name is Michael Schmerich. I'm in corporate communications and executive positioning. And my success is as a result of digging deep and recognizing some truths about what I thought my brand online was pretty good. And then I realized I had other people look at it and saying, like, you know what, you might want to change this, this, or this. And sometimes it's just like the little things that matter. But I have 4 interviews this week, and one of them actually came as a result of a networking event with a trade association, and one of the women at my table just happened to be working for one of my target companies, Abbott Labs, and in the same division as the target company. I said, by chance, do you know anything about this role? And she goes, well, yes, I do. Can I? And I said, can I put you down for the employee referral bonus that you may get? She goes, I'll even do better than that. I'll put you in the portal so you get first dibs on it. I was like, there is a God. And so we'll see where it goes.
Absolutely. So that's true. You mentioned a couple of things that I want to highlight for everybody else. Networking works. Networking isn't necessarily as it is in Michael's case, where somebody's actually going to put their information into the portal. Probably a recruiter who did that. Was that the person?
No, it was actually, I sent this woman, she was in the communications department.
Got it.
She actually forwarded my CV to someone, and then I got a link from Abbott going to their ATS, and my material was already input. So I don't know if it was the recruiter, but like, and I'm usually not a fan of ATS. I think they're like giant trash compactors, but at least I got a link because it was from someone inside the company. So it was something worthwhile to pursue.
Okay, so a couple of things. One of which is everybody thinks of the ATS as this big dark black hole. It honestly isn't. The ATS is an electronic file cabinet. That's truly all that it is. And what that means is that, yes, your resume has to be read. Your materials have to be readable. They have to be searchable, because I, the recruiter, put in my own criteria to try and sort that information out. So if I can't read it, or yes, if I can't find those keywords in that search, you may not come to the top of my pile. But
Okay.
most recruiters will look at or skim every resume that matches at least that minimal kind of stuff. Okay.
So the reason why I say that they're a trash compactor, and I certainly don't want to skew things away, is that I have found, at least with people in my industry, that AI, a lot of recruiters who I know personally, they're reading AI generated resumes and cover letters. And then when they actually meet the candidate, they're like, this person is nothing like what the candidate looks like. And so it's like, it's causing some burnout. And so that's why I'm just
And that's the problem is, and you mentioned what the issue is. Do not let AI format your resume. Do not take
Never
any.
touched it.
Okay. AI might be a good thing to get you started. It might give you some ideas, but you're absolutely right. There are too many people who are applying either with a spray and pray approach, the same resume that goes to everything, or they're using AI to generate with maybe even with just minimal tweaks, their resumes and cover letters. They don't sound like you. They aren't
Right,
you.
right.
And the people on the other side of that desk or screen can absolutely tell. Okay. It will kick you out faster than anything else. Do not do that. Period. Okay.
No, it's preaching to the choir. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm preaching to everybody else, but thank you for bringing it up. Okay.
No problem. Thanks a bunch.
Absolutely. And congratulations. Keep us posted. Kristen.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Linda. I'm celebrating similar to some of the other folks. One contract signed, part-time for 3 months, so that's nice. It's also on retainer as opposed to hourly, so that's even better.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, I know. Took a little bit of negotiation to get to that point, but I'm very grateful. I am interviewing for a second contract to kind of fill in the full 40 hours on Tuesday. And that one was a blind apply, and I kind of was like hoping for the best. And they reached out to me. It's a very good fit in the ed tech space, but that's where 20 plus years of my experience is. So that's good. And then I also have two full-time that are also in the mix. And I only have a little bit of angst in my face because one I haven't heard from in a week and a half, which screener, hiring manager, small little project, ghosted. The other one has been through hiring screener and two separate panels. That one does seem more promising, but yeah, I mean, I'm just happy to have opportunities because there was a application and interview desert for a couple months.
It seems to come in waves.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if it's also the end of the fiscal year for some people. That's my
and absolutely true.
guesstimation.
Yep. So one of the things that I wanted to remind you all is that companies are going to start this process quickly again. Now, if things slow down over the summer, just because of, everybody being on vacation, all the rest of that, but hiring is still going to take place. And we're finding that because budgets have now been approved and have to get started to be used again, okay, companies are more likely to start hiring now before they think the budgets are going to go away. So you may see more activity now. The other thing is that because so many job seekers decide that this is not a good time to look, you have an absolute advantage. Because fewer people are applying, it means that your stuff gets read first.
Hope so.
Okay.
And for everybody else too, not just me, but thank you, Linda. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It absolutely works. Okay. So please keep going. Thank you. Lisa.
Hi. So I have two things to report on. One is I did a second round panel interview for a full-time position that I would really like. It's a remote position. I interviewed with the hiring manager and then did a panel of 3 people. Talking about networking, this actually came through a friend who just saw this on LinkedIn and said, I think this is a good fit. So that's at least how I found out about it. And then I used, my manager was connected with an executive at this company. She said, I don't really know her, but I'm happy to send a note. So she did that. And then it turned out one of the interviewers, when I looked her up, was at the same company as the same manager, had been at one point. So I asked her, do you know so-and-so? And she said, yes, I vaguely know her, but I think she knows me. And at the end of the interview, I mentioned, oh, we have this common connection. And she said, oh yeah, I know her, and jotted down her name too. So my manager's gonna put in a note to her too. So I'm hoping that this goes on to the second panel, third interview. That's what their process is.
Okay.
So I'm waiting to hear about that one.
That's fantastic. What kind of a job is it, Lisa?
It's a delivery manager. in their product systems. So,
Fantastic. Congratulations. Keep us posted.
thank you. And then one other thing I wanted to share, and kind of a lesson learned too, is I had gone to a company reunion and talked to somebody in the finance department that I had worked with. He contacted me, this is a couple months ago, contacted me and said, we could use some project manager help. I talked to him and he said, we're 5 days in the office. It was going to be too far a commute, I thought. So, I said, no, thank you. Didn't really pursue that one. Referred a couple people. Anyway, he came back to me a couple months later and said, would you reconsider? Maybe we can compromise. So I talked to him and his IT person, and he said, yeah, he'd be willing to do a hybrid. So we just talked on Monday. That's a contract position, but that's a possibility now in the works too. So the lesson learned for me on that one is to not just shut the door and say, oh no, can't do 5 days a week in the office. Like, I probably could have negotiated that earlier too, instead of waiting for him to come back around, but it was a nice surprise.
That's fantastic. And I'm seeing that actually more and more. You see a lot of things in the media that say that jobs that are remote are going away or hybrid jobs are going away. It isn't true. In fact, some of the predictions from a lot of the HR folks that I'm talking with is that starting in 2025, you're going to see even more of the hybrid and remote jobs becoming available, and deliberately mentioned. And the reason for the 2025 is that what we're finding is that a lot of company leases are renegotiable in 2025. And so as a result, one of the reasons companies are saying we need everybody in the office is because they're paying for all this office space. But as they start to renegotiate those leases, the prediction not only from HR folks, but also from the folks that I know in the corporate real estate space, is that a lot of those leases are going to be downsized or not renewed. And that companies are going to be moving again because they know when they give them the space, when they really talk about it, working remotely, working on a hybrid basis works for many different jobs. It's more the managers who feel that lack of control rather than the work getting done. So we're going to start seeing the prediction, my cracked crystal ball says that starting in 2025, we're going to start seeing more of those remote and hybrid jobs becoming available again. Okay, so don't hold me to it, but cracked crystal ball based on all the evidence that I'm hearing says that that's going to start happening. So never be afraid to ask whether or not that can happen. Okay, all right.
I guess I'm last, Linda.
You are. You gonna turn your camera on?
Yeah, I can. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. All right. So my positive is in networking and how things work. They say that's the way to get the job or to get the interview. I don't disagree with it at all. When I see something, I go for it and try to find somebody. I found a connection of mine that was connected to a recruiter at the company. While she wasn't the person that possibly, was involved, she posted it. So my assumption was if you post it, you're the one that's sourcing for it. But he sent a message to her and she sent a message back. I believe it was in LinkedIn message, saying, well, we're pretty far in the process and I think she actually said they have the candidate and they were going to be hired. But the point of it is the fact that she said, but I will send your information along to the recruiter that's handling that account. Okay, thanks. And said thank you. And that's all. A day or so later, I get a message from the recruiter who's handling it saying, we would like to interview you. So she did. We set up a phone call and had the interview and it went well. And then she said, of course, like most, okay, we'll make our decision whether or not we go through in the process. So it's a 50-50 on, did they have somebody and they were just seeing what's left just to compare, just in case, as we all know. But they apparently are continuing with the process because the next part is a skills assessment. And that'll be my question at some point today when we get to it. on this skills assessment, one thing they're asking to do. But I'm moving forward in the process, and the point of me telling people this is, again, networking does work. Sometimes it's not always where you want it to be, but you never know. And it's not a waste of time if they say, we'll send it along, and then they interview you. Even if you don't get the job, hey, at least you gave it a shot. So just never know.
That's absolutely right. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so Louis, we're actually doing the Ask Me Anything kind of thing next week, but if you've got a quick question about the skills assessment, go ahead.
Well, it's just part two of it is I'm in an event, so we do a lot of projects and things. And so the quick question is, she's asking me to give 2 to 3 examples of a virtual event that you could do for the teams together across the world. And as a lot of the project managers on here are people that have had to do projects, when you're asked for that in an interview, a lot of times you get burnt because in fact you give them a lot of information and then they don't interview you anymore, don't hire you, and then you pretty much know they probably said, oh great, we're so glad we got all this info, we're going to use this, but not tell him, and then saying, sorry, we've hired somebody else. So I'm hesitant on answering it, but at the same point I want them to see a little bit that I know how to do it, so I'm trying to be limited in exactly what to give them. But I was just curious on your thoughts, because none of us want to get burnt and do work, even 20 minutes of work, and then not go forward in the process.
So a lot of it, unfortunately, has become free consulting in terms of those skills and projects that people are asking you to do. So you do need to be wary. You want to walk that fine line between giving them enough information to know that you can do the job and not giving away the store. So what I normally recommend is that you start a little bit of information and then say, here's the way I would go about it. And when I know more about your organization and your people, I'm happy to share more, because here's what I would do. And so we'd move forward from there. So it's the teaser, a little bit about the process, but don't give them the whole store. Now, if you have a link to some of those projects, you can show those as well.
Okay, so when you say that, like, I have 3 examples that for example, of team building. So a virtual whatever it is, and I have 3 ones that I'd like to use.
Okay.
What are you saying? Like, I obviously I'm still limited in what I'm giving them. I didn't quite know what you mean. I'm happy to say, here's how I would start it. I would research and I have come up with 3 examples. Happy to provide more once I know more about. So, but I'm hesitant on just saying that, and they going, oh, well, he's not giving us anything, we're not going to move forward.
So for each of those 3 examples that you want to give them just a teaser for each individual one. Okay. So for example, for the team building. So what I would do with team building is that I would put together a series of exercises that can be done in a remote way, put people into breakout rooms. And it was very successful doing this. And once I know more about your organization and I'm on board, what I would do would be to research what your team really needs, talk to the people there and put together those activities so that I make sure that it matches the needs that they have. That's exactly what I was able to do for so-and-so company.
Okay.
Okay. But the idea is you want to be able to give them no more than I wouldn't even give them a full outline. I would talk a little bit about the purpose of the project, how you would get started doing it, and maybe your initial steps, and then say, once I'm on board and I can do the rest, okay, I've got the information, I can go from there.
Okay.
Okay.
But I could say we're gonna one example is a interactive puzzle. I can't think of the word I'm using, but not give them the exact website, they want a budget. I don't need to tell them. I'll just say it fits in your budget, and upon hiring, knowing more about your organization, I'd be happy to provide more detailed info.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, and you can say, I've done these for budgets ranging from X to Y.
Okay. All right.
Okay. That gives
Okay.
them enough information to work with without tying you down and without giving you the website.
Okay. Perfect.
Uh-huh. And as a reminder, next week, I know it's July 3rd, but we're still going to be doing they ask me any kind of thing, anything session. So your questions are more than welcome there. But I did want to spend a couple of minutes before we go into breakout rooms. And by the way, congratulations to everybody. I'm so excited. We have so many wonderful things to celebrate. But I want to pull out a couple of nuggets from some of the things people said. One of which is that networking absolutely works. Networking isn't necessarily somebody walking your resume down the hall. Networking is finding out more about the position and how it works, finding out who the recruiter might be so you can send some information to, finding out more about what the company culture is, about other things that work within that department. It's about finding the names of people so that you connect with, because the more people you are connected to, the more likely that your resume is not only going to be seen, but that you're going to get that, at least that initial phone call. They want to see you as that positive force. So when people say networking, you can get 70% of the jobs through networking. Networking absolutely plays a part in, I would say, 50 to 70% of the jobs that people get. But it isn't necessarily going to get you your job in terms of somebody sending you down the hall. Now, we heard two people today who talked about the fact that people they know or people they met, either at a networking event or at another company, were able to give them information about a job, thought about them, they had those conversations. That's what you want. You want people who can give you some of that information, that insider, if you will, information to tell you what those jobs are. It may not necessarily get you the job, but it gets you enough information so that you can get out there in that very positive way and that you find people that you can follow up with and connect with. Now, I don't honestly remember. It may have been Michael, and I'm sorry if I don't remember exactly who it was, asked, in this networking meeting, whether or not they could use his name, the person's name that they met, as part of their employee referral. Was you, Michael? Perfect. If you can get that employee referral, okay, again, doesn't have to be somebody you know, but most major companies have that employee referral bonus. If you can get somebody to say, of course, you can use my name, happy to take the bonus if you get hired. Okay, I'm not recommending you. I'm just listing it as that employee referral bonus issue. You are guaranteed that a recruiter is going to do more than just skim the top of your resume. They're going to take a look at all of it. And in many companies, if there is that employee referral name, again, even if that person has no idea who you really are, but if there is that employee referral name, many companies have a policy in place that you will get at least that screening phone call. So if you're doing some of that networking, again, you don't have to know the person, but if you're in those conversations, ask whether or not the company has an employee referral bonus, and if so, would they like you to list their name on the paperwork so that they get the bonus if you get hired? Nobody's going to say no to that. Okay, so it's always a good thing to be able to do. So continue that kind of networking process. One of the other things that I heard was that it seems as though it is easier to get a job if you have a job. And I'm going to say yes and no. There are very few companies that will turn you down if you are not currently employed. Now, the one person who said that they would not talk to somebody for a contract role unless they currently had a job. I've seen those statements more from outside recruiters than I have from anybody inside companies, including recruiters or hiring managers. The reason for that, speaking as an ex-headhunter, okay, the role of the headhunter is to bring in candidates that nobody else can find. So if you're currently looking for jobs, you're available to everybody. But if you're not looking for a job, you're currently employed, then it looks as though I am doing my due diligence and finding that hidden candidate. So many headhunting firms would prefer to source candidates who are currently working. So what about things like that? Of course, we know layoffs. Recruiters know that. Hiring managers know that. Headhunters know. And it's an acceptable aspect. In fact, if you ask almost any hiring manager, you ask almost any recruiter, they're going to tell you not only do they know that that exists, but that they probably have one of those gaps in their resume too. From the LinkedIn perspective, if you have a gap of more than a couple of months, I want you to fill it. And I want you to fill it because you will come up more in searches on LinkedIn if you have a current employer. That doesn't mean that as a recruiter, if I find you, I'm not going to talk with you if you don't have that employer. It doesn't mean that I want you to lie on your resume. Absolutely not. This is strictly a LinkedIn trick. The LinkedIn algorithms will find you if you have a current employer. Now, if you're unemployed, what that means is you need to put in a dummy corporation. And I think I put a couple of those in the LinkedIn chat or in the chat in our private group, but I will redo it again. A dummy corporation can simply be you search under companies' names and you look for open to work or looking for opportunities as a company name. And those company names we know are dummy companies. Doesn't matter where they're located. But unless they're doing real work, you can use them. And then the job title is whatever the job titles you're looking for. LinkedIn sees that you're still employed. Anybody looking at your profile knows that these are the jobs you're looking for. It truly is just a placeholder. And sorry, LinkedIn gods don't listen, but it truly is just a placeholder so that the LinkedIn algorithm will make sure that you pull up in those searches. Now, in a couple of weeks, I think it's July 10th, we actually have somebody who is a headhunter who uses LinkedIn Recruiter. Now, fewer than 1/3 of the recruiters on LinkedIn actually use LinkedIn Recruiter. But for those who do, he's going to give us all the tips and tricks. He's actually going to walk us through a couple of searches to show you what those filters are and how those pull up on profiles. So get all your questions ready for that. That will be on July 10th, and we're going to be talking with Chris Sellers. So those are important things that you need to know. But if you want to know how to put that dummy corporation into your LinkedIn profile, let me know and I will help walk you through that. Okay, got another couple of questions and then I really want to get to the topic very quickly. Okay, TJ.
About your dummy corporations, what happens if you're employed? Can you still put a dummy corporation in to increase your chances of being found for the position that you're seeking?
If you're currently employed, I wouldn't do that because then it looks like you're looking for both. And if you put in the dummy corporation and you say you're looking for work, your current employer is going to see it.
Oh.
Or could see it. So I wouldn't do that.
That was an idea, though.
It is a great idea. But there are other ways of getting it found in different ways. So one is that you can use the letting open to recruiters only. Again, but that's at 1/3 of the recruiters or less who use LinkedIn Recruiter who will see that. But by your activity, you can make yourself an attractive candidate that people will come out and take a look at. Okay. Austin.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, what kind of following up on that, what are the dates you would put in? So if I've been searching for a year since last June, would I put in September of 23 and then just keep that open? How does that work?
You could put in September of 23. You could put in June of 24. You can put it in whatever you like. Okay. It's a placeholder really more than anything else. But what I would do is if you are adding that dummy corporation, especially if you're backdating it, don't make that notification available to your contacts. You don't want that LinkedIn he started a new position at.
Oh, right, right.
Okay,
Makes sense. Thank you.
you're welcome. TJ, another question?
I forgot to take my hand down.
No problem. Okay. Lori,
I have a quick question.
Yep.
So my Dummy Corporation is my own company. Okay. So, and you helped me put the logo on because I was like, how do I get the logo on? And you were great. So thank you. But I do
Sure.
have to work on it. And I have like 3 followers but on my regular LinkedIn, I have the work I've been doing, which has been a lot. So
what do you mean it's been a lot?
I have like 5 bullets
Okay,
because I've been doing, different assignments. So do you recommend keeping that? Because they say your first 3 roles, you should have 5 bullets or 4 bullet, whatever it is, and then you go down if you have one more or whatever. So am I screwing up by doing that? I know I need to change the title because someone told me under your photo, under my photo, they said, put your titles, stop putting what you want to do. And I was like, okay.
well,
They
no,
told
I'm
me-
not sure.
They told me to put like VP, CMO,
Okay.
marketing
As
director,
opposed to,
as opposed to financial acumen, your skills.
yes, okay, so, yeah, you really don't want the skills up there, you want the titles, and I apologize. I am LinkedIn knows that I'm having a problem today. I can't get into LinkedIn right now, or I would
Okay.
pull it up. But we can talk about that another time. In fact, remind me if you're gonna be with us next week,
Yeah. Oh, I think I will. Yeah.
okay? Remind me and we'll try and do it then. Otherwise I'll do another session just on LinkedIn. But yes, under your headline is important. Those first 40 characters, especially of your headline,
Mhm.
are what I'm going to see when I pull your name up in a search.
That's what
Yeah.
I was told. Yeah. It
Yep.
seems to be and someone also said to me, just consider LinkedIn as a database. It's a big database.
And that's exactly what it is.
Mhm.
At least in terms of that search function. But it's not just a database. It is a way that you can showcase, and thank you for letting me segue quickly into the conversation that I wanted to have today. That idea of whether or not you should be personal and what kinds of posts you should make and those comments that you should make. And they should all be on that positive nature as much as you can. Now, we know that LinkedIn is supposed to be this professional networking platform, and you're seeing a variety of posts out there. And what brought this to mind for me in terms of the conversation was that we are seeing in terms of the LinkedIn algorithms, that posts that have a little bit of personal, a little bit of you in the process, say once every 5 posts, every 10 posts, seem to start doing better and bringing more people to your profile.
Wow.
And here's the reason, is that people want to hire people they know, like, and trust. Much of LinkedIn should be about knowing and trusting. But the liking comes from having that little bit of that personal profile part of it. So before I got kicked out of LinkedIn, before I can't get into LinkedIn this morning, I put something up about showing a picture actually of what my dining room table looks like right now.
I saw it.
Okay. And talking about adaptability and the idea that adaptability is an important skill set for an employee, and being able to talk about those times when you adapted to something new, when you adapted to change, when you were able to pivot, is an important thing to be able to showcase not only in your interview questions, but also for your performance appraisals. So I had a little bit of me, but I had that business related aspect of it as well. There are some posts people put out that are strictly personal. You'll see people with pictures of their dogs or their gardens or
Yeah.
right. I'm not a huge fan of those. But people do them. And if you want to do one, say every 5 to 10 posts, you can do that. Don't make that your primary content.
I agree. Because when I see personal ones, and a desk is different. Like yours was great. That was great. You showed a workspace, right? But when I see like someone put a cicada, because we have the cicadas in Chicago, okay, I'm like, what does that have to do with anything
Right.
other than, I don't know. So thank you. Thank
You're
you for
welcome.
answering. I appreciate it.
No problem. So yes, so doing a little bit about you is not a bad thing. One of the things we are finding though, is that hiring managers are reading your posts and your comments. If they're interested in you, they're going to take a look and they're going to go beyond the profile itself, okay, to really read what you're writing. I had one candidate who was actually told by the CFO and the CEO of the company with which he was hiring, people that he had not connected with on LinkedIn. But they said, you know, we've been watching your posts and I'm really impressed by the kinds of comments that you're making. Okay. He was a computer security guy. And so the professionalism of his posts, the comments that he was making made an impact and helped him to get those final interviews and actually get that job. By the same token, negative comments on LinkedIn can work against you. If all that I see in your comments are the woe is me, or how bad this is, or how terrible things are, or all the hard things that are happening, I'm going to bypass it. In fact, a number of recruiters are starting to do just that, and they are either disconnecting, refusing to connect, or bypassing it when you're sending something to them.
That's good though, that recruiters are reading, because before they weren't. So this is a good sign.
So if they are interested in you, they're reading. Especially if you're moving forward in the process. I understand that it's a tough market out there, and I understand that every once in a while you want to vent. But if you want to vent, make it extremely rare, not every single post, not every single comment. Be wary of commenting on other negative posts. You want to be that professional job seeker. In fact, we're going to do a session and I have to find a date for it in terms of LinkedIn engagement, where I want you not just to be posting, but commenting. Actually, commenting is a stronger strategy in some cases than posting. But commenting in a professional way to move conversations forward, sharing your expertise. That makes you somebody I want to talk with. It makes you that person that CEO said, hey, wait a minute. He's actually knowing what he's talking about. He's the kind of guy who not only has that information, but can help us as well as helping other people. He's the guy I want to talk with.
So
He's
what about when
definitely-
LinkedIn asks you to be an expert? I don't know if anyone else has, and I stopped doing them because it was happening all the time. And I was like, okay, it's enough. I'm not an expert on everything and I got to stop.
Okay, so that's the new AI collaborative articles feature. So can you contribute to a collaborative article? Yes, you can. And that's what those messages mean. Would you contribute to this collaborative article?
Okay.
If you choose to do that, okay, you'll see some of us who have LinkedIn badges. Okay, you're considered a community expert now. I would do it in a way that says, be very picky about what it is you're communicating, what you're commenting on. You can't do everything.
That's why I stopped. I only do, and I don't have a badge. I'm like, I don't need a badge. You know
don't
what I
need
mean?
that. But the point is that one of the things we're finding, and I don't know how long it's going to stay that way, is that Google finds those comments on those collaborative articles. Don't ask me how or why. Okay, so that's another way of getting found. But your collaborative articles can pop up as part of your comments. You can be found for them.
But don't do a lot. Just
Don't
pick
do
and
a lot.
choose. That's why I stopped. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Enough. You know?
So if you have one specific area that you want to be seen, this is your area of expertise. Okay. And somebody says, here's a collaborative article that you can contribute to, then pick that one area. But just pick one.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if you're doing that, LinkedIn at the top of that collaborative article will say, okay, people who contribute to X number, how close are you to getting that badge? Badge may or may not be important. But the idea is that if you're doing those contributions, that help. And if you are making some of those contributions to those collaborative articles, let me know. Send me the link. Okay? Because what's important is not just to collaborate. If you're doing those collaborative articles, not just having it out there, but having people like it. That also increases your visibility.
Thank you.
I'm happy to do that. Okay? All right. So make sure that your posts and comments are positive. Support other people on LinkedIn. That also goes a long way. But make sure that whether you're doing something that is personal or professional, you are professional in everything that you do. And you're right, Ken. Facebook is for venting. If you need to vent and you really feel like you need to do it on LinkedIn, join our private group and do it there because we're all in the same boat. Speaking of which, okay, I realize that I haven't done this yet.
The same with politics, because I don't go on LinkedIn to look. So my sister posted something, all right? And I told her, I said, I'm really sorry. And she's hardly on it and she doesn't need a job. She's going to retire in like a couple of years. She's totally set. I just said to her, I go, I hope you understand I'm not liking it. She said, no. I said, it's too political. I'm staying away.
So in fact, absolutely. The idea would be please do not post anything political on LinkedIn.
The only thing I did write a comment was on ageism. And I said,
that's not political.
Okay, but I did link it and said, it's interesting that our government, there's no ageism in our government. That's the only thing. But I did it once.
But that's not a political comment.
Oh, it's not? Okay. I even said I'm being nonpartisan.
Yep, that's fine. Okay, I'm okay with that.
But just like once in a while.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I will occasionally post something that talks about upcoming legislation and suggest that people comment and write their legislators. But that legislation being things like Minnesota is considering a pay transparency law. Please support them.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. So those kinds of things I may post, but that's the only political thing that I post. Or if it's age discrimination or something like that. But yes, remember, there are people of lots of different views.
Mm-hmm.
Your goal is to be the professional who can work.
Well, that's why I put this is nonpartisan. I even put in parentheses because I was like, I don't want anyone knowing which way I go in terms of that.
You've got a friend group, that's fine.
Oh yeah, trust me, we all talk. Sorry, everyone. I think this is great because LinkedIn, a lot of people are also telling me they're turning it off and they're going to other sources because it's getting out of control.
So LinkedIn is still, from a hiring standpoint, it is still your best social media platform. Okay. But by the same token, people are I'm disconnecting. A number of people are disconnecting from people who are either doing those political posts or who are consistently negative. And when I see those people who are consistently negative, so for example, if somebody sends me a connection request, I do look at what their profile is and I look at some of their comments in their posts. And if they're on that negative version, I don't connect.
Or if they're braggy. I'm kind of like, you know what? Not everyone's bragging right now.
And exactly right. Okay. So,
sorry, everyone. I'm done.
No, that's okay. Richard.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, my camera is not working for some reason. I have limited bandwidth. To go back to the top of the conversation, Linda, what's your thoughts on why companies are having 6, 7 rounds of interviews? What's driving that?
You know, if I could give you the answer to that, I would never have to work another day in my life. So I don't really have an answer. I can tell you that part of it is FOMO, fear of missing out. Part of it is that employers are still looking in many cases for the unicorn. And they keep changing their preferences and their views as they go further and they meet new candidates. They start adding and subtracting things as they go along. But it's also the idea that especially now, whether you're working in an in-person or a remote or hybrid situation, companies are beginning to acknowledge again that those relationships within the department are important. And so you get other people who want to have that say in that hiring process and who they're going to be working with. So again, that's a know, like, and trust factor. Okay, both within the department and elsewhere. But companies have decided that they have the driver's seat because there's so many people who are looking. And so if they can spread it out, they have nothing to lose. The best companies are beginning to realize that that's a problem. HR is routinely telling companies this is a problem. And I'm starting to see more candidates pulling themselves out again from this process if it continues for too long. Going to them and saying, look, I love this company. I love the interview process or all the people that I've met. I think the job is a great fit, and I think I've been able to demonstrate that to you. But I need to know where I really stand in this process and how much longer it's going to take, because I have other things that I'm also pursuing. Okay. And I want to respect your time, but I need to have my time respected too.
Okay. Yep. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. All right. I haven't had a chance to go through some of the chat. So let me ask you all a question. Okay, because we are now at 12 o'clock. I can stay for another 40 minutes, 45 minutes. Do you want to do the networking, or do you want me to keep answering questions, or do you want me to answer some of them in the chat in the private group? I know I've asked a multi-part question. Okay, so I don't even know. I see Chad saying answer questions.
Are you asking Linda about breakouts and doing some networking that way? Is that what you mean?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm asking.
Okay. That's always been great every time you've done it.
Okay.
Answer questions, because we're heading towards the 4th of July, where things slow down, as we all know, from holidays. So, sorry, that's my vote.
That's okay. So here's what I can do, because next week we are doing that full answer question session. Okay. So how about I answer questions for another 10 minutes and then breakout rooms? Does that work?
Yep.
All right.
Linda, could I just say that I was reading, the whole reason I clicked on the session today was talking about your prompt. What do you post on LinkedIn? Is it strictly professional and business related? And some of those questions, I thought that those would be the things that, because I do a combination of both business and personal ones, but the personal ones always point back to brand, like what I do professionally. So if I do something personal, the only reason I'm posting it is because it has something to do with a brand aspect.
And that's exactly right.
Points to me. So I didn't know if that was what line that you were going to talk about today.
We got a little carried away in other things, and that happens to us a lot, David. Sorry. Okay. But the idea is that, yes, when you're doing something personal, my preference would be that you always have something that ties in to something that is brand related, something that is professional related, that is helping to move things forward. Now, you can, on occasion, as I said, no more than probably once every 5 to 10, and I prefer that it's on the higher side, do something that is strictly personal with nothing else related. No business related at all. LinkedIn is still saying that that's a good thing, and I'm seeing some of that happen. I'll tell you that those are not necessarily the posts that I read. Okay, but that doesn't mean that other people don't. We want to know you as a person in addition to the work that you do. So a little bit about that personalized content is a good thing. My personal posts, as well as yours, tie back in normally, okay, to something, even if it's a sentence or two. I try and tie it in.
Right. I think that there's something that you can post that has something to do with your character.
Absolutely.
Which points to your personal brand. So even in your comments and your sharings, those are very, very important about commenting about why something that you are making a comment on ties back to yourself, and also the way you consider that company or service or expression. Usually around patriotic times of the year, if you're about supporting this country, then it's a good idea to comment or share on something that happens that has to do with some sort of a expression of America.
Yes.
Right. So I think those things are. I was wondering about like how much of a balance that you would suggest on that when you were saying personal versus professional.
So you can always in your comments, okay, make something personal. I know that one of the things you do is you talk about the marathon, okay, and you're running. And that's a great thing because you can always tie some of that in, and that's great. But in terms, there's some of the posts that I'm talking about that are personal are strictly, okay, I went on vacation today. I'm sitting at, I'll do some of that, okay. I might on a weekend talk about the latest business book that I'm reading, kind of thing. But that's about it. And that doesn't have much to do with it. Some people will do, though, almost 2/3 of their posts are strictly personal. That doesn't do you any good. This is not Facebook. And I'm not planning, okay, those are not the posts, those are not the videos that I'm interested in seeing. I want something that's business related. So that tie into your personal brand, absolutely. Can you make it a personal statement as well? Absolutely. I think it's important. So do you have a specific example, David?
Well, the first question I ask myself, because I know I want to make a regular post at least weekly, is what value is my comments or my posts or anything doing to the community? If I can't answer that question, then I'm not going to post it. Then it becomes some gratuitous nothing. And that takes down my personal brand. So, everything I make, any kind, even a comment that I'll make is what value does it bring, right? So it's most of my stuff is a celebratory type of posting or commenting about, this is a very good thing that has happened here because of XYZ reason. And so you're pointing it to yourself as being a thought leader and someone like that, as opposed to, oh, I think that's so cute that what they did or something like that. Nah.
Yep, no, I agree. I think that's great. And that's why even when you're doing those congratulatory posts, always make sure that it's more than just a congratulations, that there's something else that goes along with it. If you're posting that you just finished a course, I want to know what you learned, not just, hey, I finished it.
Right. I especially do that with the effectiveness of volunteering. So when you get to volunteer, then you're in charge of what you get to post about it. And so when you put out there the effectiveness of your volunteer work that helps the community or helps the cause, then it again points to you as a personal and your personal brand, but it shows also the value of the volunteer work, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's just what I was going to say is that a personal or is that actually professional?
That's both, and that's fine.
Right.
David, I'm going to jump in on that topic and say, and some of you heard me say this before, but one of the first things I look at in somebody's profile is I look at the volunteering, because to me, that's an indication of character. Not everybody looks at it that way, but I think it's really important. So I really second what you're talking about.
By the way, thank you, Bill. The other thing is,
I appreciate that.
Okay. When we were talking about those dummy companies, if you're doing a lot of volunteer work right now, you can use that volunteer organization as your current company instead of a dummy company.
I've had a couple of nonprofits reach out to me because of showing the volunteer stuff that I'm involved with.
Yeah, volunteer work, and we've talked about this before, gives you skills, it gives you contacts, and it makes you feel good by doing good. You can learn new things, demonstrate new things. So thank you. Okay. All right, another couple of questions real quick. Okay. TJ, is your hand still up? Oh, let's see.
Yeah, I have my hand up.
Okay.
So I was looking at a LinkedIn optimizer program. They recommended putting a dash in between your name. What is your feeling on that? Like,
what LinkedIn? No. Why would you do that?
I'm not sure. They were recommending it, but I was wondering if that is really.
No. The other thing is that if you
Do
put a
that.
dash in between your name, unless it really is a hyphenated name, you can't get verified because it won't reflect the right name.
Some
Okay.
Linda,
some
he's not talking about his
websites
name.
ask
He's
you
talking about the
LinkedIn profile there.
I'm sorry?
yeah. He's talking about his
Some-
LinkedIn URL.
Oh, in your LinkedIn URL, if you want to put, or are you talking about your name on the profile?
Yeah,
page?
no, your LinkedIn URL.
In your URL, it makes no difference. Okay, the LinkedIn
I have
URL is
trouble-
simply the way that people can find you. You can put the dash in there if LinkedIn will not allow you to use your name without removing the numbers behind it, and says somebody else has already taken it. So if that's the case, then try Timothy Hogue or TJ,
Okay.
and we'll still find
Because
it out.
somebody was recommending I change it to the dash in there to make it more readable, but I wasn't sure how you felt about that.
No, because the URL, nobody's reading the URL. They're checking to see whether or not you've changed it to make it look
Okay.
like it's okay, that you know what you're doing. So you've removed all those numbers after your name. But I don't care what your URL really says other than your name somehow. Austin.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, another question on the career gap. In my time looking for a job, I recently have had to become a caregiver for my parents, and it was something that was not expected. But I have heard that you could put that in to your in as a job placeholder. How would I do that?
Okay, so you can. A lot of us fought for LinkedIn to add the career gap kind of things. Okay. And recognize those on LinkedIn as valid. So there is a way that you can add under employment or experience, you can add, there's a specific drop down for career gaps. Or those, I'm trying to remember what they're called. But you can do that. I'm not going to recommend it. LinkedIn on the one hand said, yes, you should do it. I would do it if it's not your current. Okay. But the problem is that if they do it as the current, LinkedIn doesn't view that as a job. Okay, and they would with the placeholder companies. And actually, if you're going to be at the program on July 10th, ask Chris Sellers about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken up a lot of time, and it was unexpected. So I feel it almost digs into, even my search time. But it's also something I am responsible for now is
So
my parents.
I would
So.
include it on your resume. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. On LinkedIn, I might say looking for a job, and one of the bullet points might be, okay, providing caregiving or caregiver for a family member going through a major illness, whatever it is, in addition to looking for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. By the way, that idea of caregiving, I've had a couple of people, including some that I've hired, who we've coached and said, if you're doing the caregiving, I've been privileged to be able to take the time to do. And that phrasing is not only important for you, because it really is, you're honoring somebody else and you're honoring yourself by saying that, but it talks to your character when somebody else is listening. It's not, oh, I have to. This has been my privilege to be able to have the time, to take the time to do this, to pay it back. So it's a good thing. Lewis. Uh-huh.
This is just a real quick comment on your LinkedIn personal, professional, political posts. I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm talking about people that do it. A lot of times we're connected to somebody and they comment on someone else's post. I get annoyed, but I don't want to turn off that person. So a LinkedIn expert said, go up to the dots. You could, of course, say, I don't want to see a post like that. If it's somebody you're personally connected to, you can say, report it as political, because LinkedIn really doesn't want anything political. And they'll look at it and decide, is this political, and kind of either flag it or do whatever on the back end. But the more we do that, this person told me, the better, because it will help create the less of the venting on the political stuff and the more personal that they don't really want, but they can't come out and say, get off, we don't want this stuff. Again, I don't disagree with, talking about the marathon or anything. That's not what I'm saying. It's just I get tired of it, so I report it or say, I don't want to see that kind of post.
Exactly.
Because that just helps in my feed because I'm connected to thousands of people. So of course I'm going to get the repost of someone who posted something to someone else's feed about something that I'm like, I don't want to know about your baby. I don't want to know about what, your political view on whatever's going on. So just wanted to throw that out there because that's part of your topic on this. And
Absolutely.
LinkedIn posting and letting LinkedIn know because they truly do. This person works with LinkedIn. They said, we truly want to know about it, but if you don't tell us, don't show us, then we don't know, and it'll just continue and just balloon into what it has currently. They're trying to control it.
Absolutely. And LinkedIn really does want to know. In fact, there are ways that you can play a little bit with your news feed. Okay, what shows up. And one of the things you can say, and one of the things that I've done is I said, I don't want to see political posts.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say that. In addition, if some post comes up and you really don't want to see that content again, okay, because it's political, because it's religious, because it's hate speech, because it's too personal, okay, then yes, please do forward that to LinkedIn. They do want to know those things. Okay. Both posts and messages, by the way. And ladies, if you're still on, I'm starting to see, I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to get some of the, oh, hi, beautiful kinds of comments again. Or, come on, I've been married for a long time, 4 kids, grandkids. This is not a dating platform. Not what I want, right? So report those as well. Sorry, but thanks. All right, Bo.
So piggybacking on what Lewis said, what about encouraging people to vote with no political stance or whatever at all? Just encouraging people to hold off? Okay.
LinkedIn is not that platform.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for asking that. Okay. All right. Other questions? If not, I am going to move into small groups. Okay. Before I do,
Just let you know I have to go, so have a great day.
okay. Thank you, TJ. I'm glad you were here for as long as you were. Okay. I am going to remind you that the chat is something that you can copy. Now, I'm going to copy it and put it in the private group when we're done. But sometimes those active links go away. So if you want to copy it yourself, go up to the top of the chat, 3 dots next to where it says Job Search Lunch and Learn. You can say save the chat, and you can do it that way. Okay. But for those of you who are left, if you want to do small group networking, I'm going to break you into groups. If you need me in the room, just type help at the bottom of your screen and I will come join you. But otherwise, go have fun. We're going to do this for 20 minutes. And then if anybody wants to do it again, we can do it a second time. Bye, guys.